It's just another manic Monday. Just another manic Monday in the space of the Karen Reed case and all of the cases that we follow here on these channels. But I want to welcome everybody back into this Monday edition of Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I am Brian. I'll be your host for a little while this afternoon, and we're going to pick up on part two of Dr. Russell's testimony from the other day during the Karen Reed hearing. And I'll probably end up doing part three on Wednesday at some time, and we'll go through Hank Brennan's cross of Dr. Russell. So welcome in, everybody. I see a lot of Ghost Squad members. Jimmy Beef says, "You wrong." Yeah, you wrong. Good afternoon, Cindy. A lot of Ghost Squad members in here. Nice to see you. Kate's here. Jackie's here. Kim's here. Lacey Jane checking in. What's going on? Thank you for being here. Channel moderators. Aline, hello to everybody watching from Scotland. We got Scotland this afternoon. And listen, before we get into today, Stacy's here. Joanna, thank you. Lois is here. She said she's going to put pause on the Dream Feed Media's last video. I'll have to go over and check it out if I have some time. Cindy's here. Hello, Cindy. All right, let's nice. Everybody coming in. Hello, Tracy. Bo's in the house. Making changes. Chicago in the house. Nice. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what has been going on lately. And I'm going to get into a little bit of the drama here to get everybody kind of caught up. Now, one thing I've understood is that a lot of people don't cross-pollinate platforms. So they might be left out in something. Now, a lot of this bigger conversation happens on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And if you're not over there, you kind of miss the instant stuff that goes on because, it takes a while for us to get over on channels and start a live and talk about some of these things. So a couple of housekeeping things I want to get out of the way right now. I'm going to prioritize this. I'm going to talk about mental health right now, because I think that is one of the most important things that I'm going to say here in this conversation, in this probably 2-hour live that I have today. Mental health is super, super important. Okay. I take it very, very seriously. And, gosh, how can I get into this? There had been some accusations made about a particular boots on the ground, I guess, member of the Free Karen Reed movement, that there was a threat of unaliving themselves and that they may possibly be in a hospital. And I just want to say that, I take unalivings very personally. My brother passed away, took his life in 2011. And, I've had to deal with that, and my family has had to deal with that. And I just want to put this out there. If anybody's having any issues regarding mental health, wanting to talk to someone, talk to a friend, a family member, a professional, there are many, many outlets that you can go to work on that. If this is getting to be too much for you, take a break. I've done it. I've taken a break. I've taken times of period of being offline and just giving myself the chance for the mind to kind of settle a little bit. I don't want to see anybody hurt themselves. I don't want to see anybody unalive themselves. Certainly, there are many, many outlets to get help, and I want that truly from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to have to come on air and talk about someone in this group or this movement or that they've hurt themselves. So let's if you're having a tough time, and believe me, this can all drive everybody crazy. I've been there. I really have been there. And I've been very open about myself, reaching out and getting mental health. I think it's good for everybody. There should be an outlet for us to all talk to someone and, get an outside opinion rather than a friend or a family member or someone that has the skills that can guide us in a positive direction and continue to make positive changes in our life. So I kind of wanted to just put that on the record today. Please, if you're feeling down, you're having an issue, You're not feeling well. There are many, many outlets. There are many people to talk to, and just get some help, please. And So I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Okay. Let me talk about the Sean on the golf stuff. So that's kind of all come back up again. Sean has taken to Twitter. He's been trying to personally attack me with things that I just find infantile, uh, using like the career path that I have chosen in life, and tries to pick things about my physical nature. It's almost comical. And again, if you're not on Twitter and you're not watching this stuff live, you kind of get lost in it. So the other day on Facebook and Twitter, I posted a video about a particular time when I was asked to go over on Melanie Little's channel, and Sean was on that same live. And the bigger point in was Sean made a comment about me being on that live, and that he was making me his bitch and I was his boy, and I added nothing to the conversation. And really, I mean, and listen, I just get this on the record at all. Get this on the record. I have zero issues with Melanie Little at all. So we want to take that out of the equation. Melanie invited me on that stream, and I obliged. Melanie and I had a very friendly relationship for quite a while. We shared a lot of texting back and forth, talking about the trial and the case, because she wanted to converse with someone that had been down here at the hearings, out in front of the courthouse, what is going on down there. And I used to send her like pictures and videos of things that we were doing out on the ground. She wanted to know. And then, she eventually started really diving into Karen's case and talking about it. So Sean was on her show. She invited me over there for kind of like the second half of the show. And what I was trying to show people is that Sean has a very big track record of disparaging people like, myself, like Aiden, like everybody that he's literally come in contact with, people that have let him on his platform, let them on their platform, or have done anything positive in the Free Karen Read movement. It's just something sits with Sean that if he's not on top and he's not the man, then he's going to try to cut you down to nothing. And it just doesn't work, because people just start seeing through his shit. So basically what I did was I posted this kind of 3-minute clip of when I actually came onto the show and I was introduced. And you could see Sean's body language right away. I'm on the panel, and I am on his panel. And what am I doing here? You got all this shit, and started taking a sip of his soda. And, I was very cordial when I came on live. And the funny thing is, I think just a couple of weeks before that, he was actually on my channel, and we had a great live. We were courteous. He was nice to me. But if it's not all Sean, if Sean is not the person, the man in the moment, then he doesn't want anything to do with you. And basically was an unprofessional prick and dismissed me, which is fine. And I just felt, okay, I know what this is about. I know the body language. I'm pretty good at reading people. I'm going to sit back and let him just be Sean, for the next 3 hours, when he just went on and kept ranting about his fucking taillight thing. And then at the very end of the live, again, I felt the body language. I tried to clear the air and just, hey man, I respect you. And I've said that to Sean quite a few times up until recently, when he started to attack me. And, I tried to kind of smooth things over in that live and just say like, what is your fucking problem, basically? And you could almost see like Melanie was picking up on it. I don't want to speak for Melanie, but you can kind of see like her change in body language. You're like, oh, what's kind of going on here? So, yeah. So that video was up, it was put up on Twitter, and then Sean started to attack me after that was out. He's now attacking me in Enrique Delgado Garcia case. And the thing that's really sad about it in that whole thing is he's tweeting in positive tweets. So he's attacking me where literally the family is watching, and you have this guy in there because he supposedly broke the story, and he's very upset because the story is getting traction now because of all the work that we've been doing. I've just been talking about it and just keeping it relevant. I wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to give back to the Delgado Garcia family. And I explained that in my live last night when Maza was on. And I just said, you know, a sign is great and a banner is great, but let's make this big. And I opted to go out and rent a billboard and put this up and make people more aware of what's going on. Because, you know, as you know, 90 days without any answers. And, you know, Sean went out in that tweet that he supposedly, he got the information from a trooper, and that was the trooper that told him that Trooper Proctor was fired, and it's a trusted source. And you saw some kind of back and forth today. I know Aiden got in on it and was like, dude, if you have these sources and you have people that can come forward, why would you not just put that out there, or even just go to the Delgado Garcia family and say, hey, I have this information? Because they're searching for answers, and that has been the most frustrating thing in all of this. So again, you can get caught up if you want. You can just go over to Twitter and you'll see all of the kind of back and forth. And again, it's just Sean inserting himself in a conversation that he should not be part of. He's going into these like positive tweets and making a really nasty situation out of it. And I just asked this, you know what? Let's have a little bit more tact in what we do here. This family should not be dragged into the drama. Sean wants to create this and discredit me because I'm just a guy that was in sales and in a retail environment, and I sold luxury goods. And, you know, I've been very thankful of that. I'm not ashamed. I get up every day. I have pride in what I do. I go out and serve my community. I've built a lot of relationships with people that I never would have even thought that I would have met outside the industry that I'm in. I've connected with a lot of really great, powerful people, athletes, politicians, you know, so be it. And it's granted me the ability to hone my skills in talking with people, because that's what I like to do. I like to talk with people and learn about things. And, you know, spending 16 years in the luxury watch business, you hear a lot of stories, and you know, it's interesting. It's interesting the things that you get to hear and you get to talk about and get to learn about. And I've been very blessed to be able to do that. So I'm not ashamed of what I do. I get up every day. I have pride in what I do. And Sean wanted to discredit me and say, oh, well, you fucking sell sweaters at a place my wife likes to shop. Great. Have her come in. Maybe we'll find something for you, Sean. So it doesn't bother me. You know, I've made a great, fruitful living in it. It's again allowed me to talk to some really great people and make connections in my community. So I'm not ashamed of what I do. I think it's great. And so anyway, I just asked this. Leave the Delgado Garcia family name out of it. It has nothing to do with you, Sean. You just want to keep inserting yourself right now because you have nothing else going on. So I think it was pretty clear of what's going on. And again, I know some people don't cross-pollinate the platforms, but I wanted to kind of clear the air on that. And I'm sure he'll whip up a live and talk about us or continue to kind of just drag this down in Twitter. And it really doesn't help that family out. It really doesn't, because they don't deserve that. And he's got his little cronies in there, and they're trying to discredit everything and come after us and attack us. And it's just useless. It's just useless. But that is Sean on the Gulf. That's what he likes to do. He likes to, you know, just say, hey, I'm not going to be the man, so I'm going to burn everybody else down that has done anything positive in this movement. And it's funny. You know, I said this the other day. Every drama situation that has happened, if you go back and trace back the trail, who does it always go back to? Who is the name that always pops up? And that's Sean on the Gulf. So anyway, okay. So let's get back into Dr. Russell. We left off the other day. We'll do kind of part 2 here. Again, I haven't, this has been kind of a dry run for me. I've kind of peeked through it and listened to it, but we'll finish up the testimony today, and then we'll come back on Wednesday and do kind of part 3 to what's going on. All right, here we go.
Go 15 more minutes?
I could.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's move on to the topic of dental features of dogs. Do you have knowledge of the dental features of dogs?
Yes.
Describe that knowledge.
Well, I have knowledge of the numbers and configuration of the teeth. The shape of the jaw.
And can you describe
Practice
generally
warning.
that
That's
knowledge?
great.
Generally, yes. So the shape varies depending on the breed, but generally there are 42 teeth in the canine mouth,
Please.
and certain number on the top, a certain this a certain number down below, 20 on top, 22
Lois, thank
below.
you.
And does that knowledge source from your medical education training? Or does it source from the literature, or both?
Yeah. I got to say this. Don't. Yeah. OnlyFans says if you're not on X, don't do it. Yeah. It gets pretty crazy. It gets pretty crazy. And sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat. I was kind of going through this, and I wanted to just kind of get this out on the, out of my system. And, it's just about trying to, continue what's going on here and make awareness. And you just have someone that's going to come in and try to disparage everything that we're doing. And it's ridiculous. Sean's just trying to stay relevant at this point. All right, let's keep going. Let's hear Dr. Russell. She's a very well qualified dog bite expert.
Now let's go to an overview of dog-inflicted injuries. Specifically, can you give an overview of the specific type of dog-inflicted injuries on humans?
Yes, they could range from the very minor, which are abrasions and contusions or bruises, to very large gaping lacerations and amputations and avulsions and just about everything in between.
What do you mean by an avulsion?
An avulsion is where a piece of tissue is actually torn away. By tissue, generally I mean the skin, and it's torn away from where it's supposed to be. But yet, a little part of it may still be intact. So it's not completely amputated, it's just a portion of it is torn away.
Are there ever teeth from a dog that are the cause of those types of injuries you just described?
Yes.
Are the nails of a dog ever the source of the type of injuries you just described?
The nails are sources of abrasions.
Are the claw marks the source of any type of injury from a dog? Or are the claw marks of a dog the source of any type of the injuries you just described?
Yes, abrasions.
Let's go to the types of dog bite injuries. Describe the types of dog bite injuries with which you have professional experience.
Oh, this should be good.
Well, I have experience with that whole range
Yeah.
of injuries and the unfortunate situation of death too.
So let's discuss the components of that range you just talked about. What types of injuries specifically from a dog do you have experience with regard to the type of dog injury from the dogs and the dog dentition?
I don't understand.
I'm sorry, my question is not clear enough for you. Are there words or names that are associated with the type of injury from a dog?
Other than the medical terms like abrasions and contusions, lacerations.
Is there a
Thank you,
certain
Cindy.
action of dog teeth that occur?
20-month member. Look at that support. Thank you so much. She said, hit that like button for LTL. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for being a member and support of the channel.
That they have a name for the type of injury that they present?
Okay, so one type of injury can be what they call the tear and the puncture and tear and pull injury, where
Thank you, Natalie.
The canine teeth, which are the longest ones.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
the dogs
Dog
have
driving was awesome.
2 canines on the upper jaw and 2 on the lower. The canine teeth actually puncture the wound. And what happens, and which I haven't described yet, is that generally a person's not standing still while they're getting bitten. They're pulling, the dog is pulling. And what happens is a lot of these wounds are caused, especially the extensive ones, by the relative pulling away of the victim and the dog. Some dogs hold on and pull as well. So this pulling, the puncturing and then pulling will cause these whole and tear lacerations.
You know what's pretty amazing? If you just listen to that section that Dr. Russell just explained about how these particular injuries can happen. And I almost guarantee you, if you go back to the Melanie Little stream with Garrett Wing, he probably talked about this as well. And you got to keep in mind, these two individuals haven't talked, haven't discussed anything. And it's probably almost to a T. They said exactly the same thing.
Now, you've discussed previously wound pattern recognition. You've used that term. How would you describe the wound pattern characteristics of dog-inflicted wounds on humans?
There are a number of different patterns.
In a spectrum of characteristic, from small to medium to high, what one of those three categories would you describe is appropriate for the characteristicness of recognized?
Here, let's just do this. And I hope Melanie doesn't mind. I don't think she will. I'm going to pull this up right now. Let's see if I pull it up when Garrett had the arm. So I want to try to compare this, see if he's going to talk about that here. Again, I haven't watched this in quite a while, but let's play a little bit of this. I think he's going to talk about wounds and striations and bites. Let's just play this really quick.
Kind of similar to something we may see a little later. Pretty interesting, right? Don't mind the discoloration. This was just a funky mold. But again, look at the lacerations. And I have to kind of spread it because of the material, but they're more like cut wounds. And you can see the angle, right? It's pretty consistent depending upon how you present it. So hopefully your viewers find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And if
Would
you wanna,
there go ahead? Let me just go ahead, finish before you, and then I'll. Would
I was
there
gonna
be?
say, if you wanted to see a video of a dog actually doing it.
Yeah, we do totally. But we're saying, could you explain bite marks on one side of the arm? Maybe can't see all the photos, and Jo could have wounds under. Sorry if duplicate. I have not seen any photos of the inside of the arm. So let us know in your experience what you see in these types of dog attacks.
Sure. So yeah, sometimes you will not see like a mirror image of the bite. Sometimes it really is. It's just like you see here. It's very hard to tell where the top tooth was, the bottom tooth was, where's the matchup. You know, those top canines tend to do the most damage. But it's very hard to match up. Like, is this the top? Is this the bottom? Is this from one bite? Or is that one canine? Is this a different bite? Very tricky to tell. It's not like a vampire bite, you know, where it's two here and two here. It's never looks like that. And one of the hardest things to do, one of the not fun parts of my job as a police canine supervisor is writing bite reports. I cannot tell you how many bite reports I have done. And one of the parts of the bite report that is very important is to document in as much detail as possible the actual injury. And so, yeah, you could say he had a dog bite on the arm. Yeah, but it was actually, and this is, trust me when I say this, how do you have a 3 laceration dog bite? Meaning sometimes the dog bites are pretty straightforward. It's a single bite. And when we look at the injury, it's 1 or 2 cuts here and 1 on the bottom. And then I'm like, I'd have to call the canine handler like, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, man. Is your dog missing a canine tooth? Which happens. Sometimes they get pulled out, ripped out, whatever. He's like, no, I just got all 4. I'm like, well, I don't know how we only got 3 lacerations, but sometimes the dog's coming in at an angle. Mm-hmm. It's not always just a perfect bite. And the other thing that you see with untrained dogs or dogs that are, whether it's a police canine washout or it's just a dog who doesn't know how to bite, wasn't trained to bite, is you will see what's called shallow biting. Shallow biting is when they only use their canines to bite, and it creates a lot more of those lacerations versus police dogs, trained dogs to bite. We teach them to bite and hold and bite deep. I actually sent this photo to 2 other police canine handlers and who are also trainers who themselves have seen countless bites. Probably between us, we've seen, hundreds each. And I didn't say anything. I said, "What are your thoughts on this?" And they said, there was zero question that this is a dog bite.
Wow.
Zero question to them.
Wow.
Their thought, though, was that this was a police dog that probably should have been washed out. This is not what we want to see on a police dog bite. We don't want to see constant re-engagements, which is what this looks like. But this is what I would expect from, like, that German Shepherd we saw bite that lady, the delivery driver, right? Just naturally going in, doing as much damage as possible, not understanding the mechanics of biting deep and holding. These, in my opinion, are bites utilizing the front of the mouth. Furthermore, I had seen video, and I could be wrong, but when Mr. O'Keefe was last seen on that surveillance camera in the bar, it appears like he's wearing a long sleeve shirt, almost like a sweater, maybe.
Yeah, somebody was asking that exact question. So let me pull up that exact question, but keep going.
And this is exactly indicative of a dog. And we see this even with trained police dogs. When someone's wearing baggy clothing or long sleeves or jeans or a jacket, you're going to get these more shallow bites. The dog's constantly trying to get a grip on the prey. And of course, the prey item is moving away, and you're going to get these. This is what's considered shallow bite marks. This is a dog trying to get a grip, but the only thing that's sinking in are those front teeth. And the biggest thing that kind of stood out to me, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but this bite right here, so I'm even calling it a bite. I'm trying to stay objective here, but these look like, and you see this a lot with shallow bites.
Hey, Peggy, how are you?
What it looks like is this is maybe the left canine, maybe the bottom right canine, or the canine here, but these.
Is there a way for you to enlarge that photo?
Let's see.
Wow. All right, let's go back to Dr. Russell. A lot of comparative, I wouldn't say, we're not testifying in Melanie Little's stream, but a lot of comparative information. I actually would want to go back through that stream again. I'm gonna reach out to Melanie and ask her if I can go through that again. I think we need a refresher on that one. All right, let's play this.
A pattern from a dog.
All right, so good, right, Nick?
If there is a certain combination of wounds, a certain pattern of wounds, being parallel lines and puncture wounds, etc.
Heard about this.
If that is present, that combination, that is highly characteristic of a dog-inflicted injury.
It's like Garrett Wing just talked about this in that little clip.
I just want to make sure we understand
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a dog bite expert. I'm not sure if the dog bite could tell anything about that. But naturally, I would think he probably was standing, and then the dog jumped and grabbed him. And maybe that's part of getting him down on the ground. I think the dog, there was the fight. The dog was spooked. It ran. It came to protect its owner, Brian Albert. And that's it. The dog jumped in. I don't know, what John's positioning would be at that point, but that's a great question. I think it's a good question. Yeah, I'd love to go back and go through Melanie's stream with Garrett. I'm going to reach out to her and ask her if I can have permission to do that, as I don't want to hijack her stream, but I think it's good to go back and refresh that. All right, let's keep playing through here.
Dog-inflicted wounds that
are comparative,
just called it, highly characteristic of a dog wound.
Comparative
What
conversation.
is the observation that leads you to conclude in certain instances that a wound is highly characteristic?
Nick saying dream feeding. I got to check that video out.
Well, if I see a combination of punctures or incomplete punctures, as well as parallel abrasions, striations, scratches would be the civilian word for that, that combination is highly characteristic.
Are you familiar with the term with regard to dog bites and dog wounds, an incomplete dental impression?
Yes.
What does that term mean?
Well, dogs don't generally bite with their entire mouth when they are biting a human. They bite with the front of their mouth. So you get a partial dental imprint. Additionally, depending on the type of the amount of force and the grip, so to speak, that the dog gets on the skin, there may or may not be a complete impact of the teeth.
So would it be, so when it's not a complete,
I kind of feel like we're listening to Garrett Wing here, right? Does everybody agree here in the chat? Oh, it's like Garrett Wing 2.0, right? Let me know what you
impact
think
of
in the
teeth,
chat.
have you observed that incomplete impact of the teeth in wounds to humans from dogs?
Yes.
Describe those observations, including how frequently you've made those observations.
In general, they're more frequent in civilian dog bites because the civilian, well, I can't say why, but anyways, they're more frequent in civilian dog bites, the incompletes. And the pattern is as I just described.
Is your experience greater from your entire career with dog-inflicted wounds from canine bites or from civilian dogs, as you've used that term?
In terms of overall numbers, civilians.
Your Honor, I would be going on to my next topic, and if you would like me to continue, I can, or if Your Honor prefers a break, I can do that as well.
Oh, I don't need a break, but I understand if people want a break. But what I want to know is how long, I'm not rushing you, but just to figure out how long we're going on the direct.
My best estimate, Your Honor, is 40 to 45 minutes.
Okay, so you say this is a good place to stop?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, then we'll stop. So
Thank you,
we'll take
appreciate
a 20-minute break and be back out here at 11:30.
All right, let's move forward. Get back to testimony. Let's see. Here we go. Ash, right? I love it. Yeah, she definitely wants a break. Oh, maybe we're not at testimony here. Let's see. Yeah, it should be coming back up here in a minute.
That's okay. I didn't realize when I came in. Do you want to wait for co-counsel?
Liquid lunch, right?
I'm sorry. Okay. All right, go right ahead, Mr. Lessie.
Thank you, Your Honor. Welcome back, Dr.
Welcome in,
Russell.
everybody.
We've mentioned briefly the term differential diagnosis, and you have defined what that term means. In terms of assessing and treating dog
Oh, that's right,
inflicted
Lacey.
human wounds,
I remember this.
do you invoke differential diagnosis?
Ripping butts in the parking lot.
Yes.
And
I still think one of the funniest things, and it was a photo because I don't think it was was it a video or a live? Aiden was outside the courthouse during one of was it the trial or the hearings? And he either did a video, like he did a live, or he took a photo and he was like pointing over his shoulder, and it was Lally in the parking lot of the Deeds building, like ripping butts. And it was the most hilarious thing. I can't remember if it was was it a photo or a live? I think he did a live on Facebook, and he's like, Lally's literally behind me ripping butts in the parking lot. I love it.
you describe how do you invoke the concept of differential diagnosis with respect to
It was the
assessing
photo,
and
wasn't
treating
it?
dog-inflicted human wounds?
With any wound that I see and with any condition that I see in
Yes.
the emergency department, I usually get an impression what I think it is, but it's important to think of what else it could be. So you don't focus in on your diagnosis right away or your first impression, because sometimes it's not accurate. And so it's very important to have what we call in medicine a differential diagnosis. This is what I think it is, but this is what it could be, and why isn't it this second thing or third thing?
Hmm.
The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You can press star.
Like, what is going on? Let me just get to this real quick. It says, hey, LTL, OGBLT here, and I couldn't mistaken Daly for a better guy. You thanks for supporting Enrique and fam. I hope to join a standout one day and see you there. This is super. This is the super chat for me. Cash App for you. Happy holidays. Thank you, BLT. I love the toaster. That's great. I'm going to be working on some new merch pretty soon. Not really, and maybe revamping some of my old stuff here, but there's a local vendor that just opened up downtown where I live. I want to go in and explore that and see what they can do as far as getting merch. Because I don't like the print on my nose is so itchy right now. I don't like the print on demand stuff. And what I've seen, what they can do, their merch looks really professional. So I might go in there and work on some shirts with them. So thank you for the 20 and the support. I appreciate that. And I think the same person just sent a Cash App as well. Let me get to the Cash App and read that. Let's see. Oh, wow. Thank you. Little Toaster. Brave Little Toaster. Thank you. Just sent $100 Cash App. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks. Thanks for the support of the channel. And we're going to definitely make a BLT t-shirt. I promise you. I'm going to work on it. I want to get it done. And maybe we can do something for, Enrique merch. And then, it's tough when you do that stuff. I get it. But I want to try to be able to contribute back to the family. So maybe we give a percentage of the sales back to the family. We'll think about it. But I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. That's really nice of you. All right, let's go.
You are
Dr. Russell.
unmuted.
Yeah, we're gonna get something going.
No, I think you're all set. All set, Mr. Clerk?
Oh, my nose.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. May I continue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
How important or unimportant is the application of differential diagnosis with respect to pattern wound recognition regarding dog bites on humans?
It's important in a lot of conditions, including pattern wounds and dog bites, because you need to know, or at least I as a physician need to know what it is. What it is I'm going to be looking, what is it that I'm looking at, and what is it that I'm going to be treating? And I need to make sure that I'm not treating the wrong condition.
Let's now go to the topic of the materials you have considered in this matter. Without stating what it is, have you been able to form an opinion as to the source and nature of the wounds that were inflicted on the decedent?
Yes.
okay. Let's see. Does some of her testimony line up with what Garrett Wing was talking about? Let's see.
What materials did you consider in forming your opinion?
Well, I looked at the appearance of the wounds, and with my training and experience, I took that all into consideration.
Okay.
I did do a differential diagnosis on what those wounds could be.
Okay.
Could they be caused by an assault? Could they be caused by a motor vehicle? Could it be caused by, self-inflicted? I went through that whole differential before I came to my conclusion.
Did you look at any photographs of the decedent from Good Samaritan Hospital?
Yes.
Hey,
Did
Sheldon,
you
how are
look
you?
at
Healthy in the house
the
too.
autopsy
Good to see you.
report of the decedent?
Yes.
Did you look at
Thank
the
you. BLT, I love it.
grand jury testimony of Dr. Scordy Bello?
Yes.
Did you look at the trial testimony of Dr. Scordy Bello?
Yes.
Did you look at autopsy photographs of the decedent?
Yes.
Did you look at the photographs that were taken by the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab?
Yes.
Did those photos include a sweatshirt or what's sometimes referred to a hoodie?
Yes.
And were there photos of that sweatshirt or hoodie that you looked at?
Yes.
Did you look at a letter from Tracy Kennedy with the town of Canton with a report regarding a German Shepherd owned by?
So OnlyFan says, "Hey BLT, no stream tonight." No, I've been kind of just experimenting with different times throughout the day and just seeing what works. Because it gets really crowded at night. So I've been trying to do my streams a little earlier in the day. I know it's been throwing a lot of people off, but I've just been a little bit more spontaneous as to right now. Maybe after the holiday season, I get back on a more regular schedule. But I'm trying to stick to like, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. I even said maybe I'll throw some Fridays in there. I'm not too sure, but it just gets crowded at night because that's when I know that's prime time. That's when people sit down after dinner and they want to watch a show. I've just been experimenting, like I said, doing my streams kind of mid-afternoon, but we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out here. So, all right, let's keep going.
Brian Albert.
Yes.
Did you look at the photographs of dog bites and a certificate of vaccination for Brian Albert's former German Shepherd dog?
Yes.
Did you look at the forensic DNA testing report by the UC Davis Veterinary Genetics Laboratory?
Yes.
Did you look at the UC Davis Veterinary Genetic Laboratory case report?
Yes.
Did you look at a report from a Paul Makowski, a licensed private investigator, on interviews regarding Brian Albert's German Shepherd dog?
Yes.
Do you have an opinion with regard to the nature and source of the wounds on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
Yes.
What is that opinion?
Here we go.
Those wounds were inflicted by a dog attack.
Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Wow.
How did you form that opinion?
Well, I utilized my many years of training experience with wounds in general and dog bites in specific, and went over the materials quite a few times. And with that, and plus did read up on some literature that I had read in the past and reread again. And that's how I came to the opinion.
Now, to get a little bit more specific, did you invoke your pattern recognition methodology in coming to that opinion?
Objection. You have to ask it differently.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you employ a methodology in coming to that opinion?
Yes.
What was the methodology, or one of the methodologies, in coming to that opinion?
Well, right away, it was apparent that there was a pattern. So I used my the pattern recognition methodology, plus my many years of training experience to come to this conclusion.
And with regard to the pattern recognition, do you have a level of certainty with regard to the pattern that you have recognized in the decedent's wounds on his right arm?
Yes,
What is that level of certainty or certitude?
those wounds are highly characteristic of a dog attack.
Wow.
How frequent, in your experience, do you find in wound care that a wound pattern is highly characteristic of a certain source?
I get to a percentage type question.
Can you answer that question, Doctor?
I'm not sure I even understand it.
So ask it differently.
Thank you.
please.
Oh, excuse me.
When you use the phrase highly characteristic, what do you mean by that phrase?
Well, it's very high. If I were to give a percentage,
Please continue.
I would say almost almost pathognomonic, 90, very high 90s.
Now let's go to differential diagnosis. Did you perform a differential diagnosis in coming to your opinion?
Yes.
What other considerations did you take into account as to possible other causes of the injuries
This will be good.
to the right arm of the decedent?
Let's see.
Well, given the pattern, there were certain things that came to mind right away that I had to rule out, and so I ruled out self-inflicted as an etiology. I don't think he self-inflicted those. The pattern was not
Oh, thank you, Sophie.
characteristic of being struck by a motor vehicle.
Aha.
The pattern was not a character.
There we go. There it is. Let's go back.
I would say almost pathognomonic, 90, very high 90s.
Now let's go to differential diagnosis. Did you perform a differential diagnosis in coming to your opinion?
Yes.
What other considerations did you take into account as to possible other causes of the injuries to the right arm of the decedent?
Well, given the pattern, there were certain things that came to mind right away that I had to rule out, and so I ruled out self-inflicted as an etiology. I don't think he self-inflicted those. The pattern was not characteristic of being struck by a motor vehicle. The pattern was not characteristic of those wounds in particular on the arm of being inflicted by another person.
You mentioned motor vehicle accident.
Wow.
And earlier in your testimony, you spoke to your experience with observing and treating a lot of motor vehicle accidents. Why did you rule out motor vehicle accident as a potential cause of the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
Because he was found outdoors.
And what other reasons? Was there anything about the nature of what was presented and what you reviewed with regard to his injuries that caused you to rule out motor vehicle accident?
I think I misunderstood the previous question.
So, yeah.
Yes. So
Let me start over
Yes.
because I am going to take what you said. So let me ask it this way. What caused you to rule out a motor vehicle accident as a cause of the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
there were several reasons I ruled it out very quickly. One is that the wounds were not characteristic of anything that I could attribute to a motor vehicle, a certain part of the motor vehicle, the underneath part of the motor vehicle. They were just not characteristic of any particular part of the motor vehicle. Secondly, there were no bruises.
And real quick, I want to kind of interject this as well too. A lot of cars nowadays, a lot of model cars, like I know I have it on my car, they have kind of this undercarriage protector. It's like a long piece of like composite plastic. It's very strong, and it's usually, drilled in underneath the car to not like allow, stones and water to come up, through the engine or through the body of the car. So I'm pretty sure, and this is something that I would probably like to look up Karen's model car and look and see if it actually has one of those. So that would, this is like going back to the whole, like, did she run him over? If that protective layer is under that car, that piece of plastic, that's going to cover all of like whatever sharp objects and whatnot to be under that car. But I know that they go to the taillight and the taillight blew apart and it cut his arm. But, just even in this analysis, like Dr. Russell said, and I don't even know if she knows this, but having those protective plastic undercarriages under there, it shields you from all those different moving parts or sharp, edges or whatever, to create, any type of injury or something like that if you were to ran over. So it's interesting. All right, let's keep playing through here.
From the neck down on his body, there was a mark on the hand, which I think I have an explanation for that.
Please.
Which was not a motor vehicle, but I didn't see any bruises or fractures or other blunt injuries that were characteristic of a person being struck by a motor vehicle.
Let's see.
And if I could answer that,
Please.
What year was, I don't know off the top of my head, and you all are probably really smart in the chat. What year was Karen's vehicle? Was it a 2020? Let me just get this. Susie, $4.99. Did you see the clip of Plevin telling Sean to shut the duck up and stop interrupting, or he kicked him off? Sean hung up. Nobody wants him. No, I didn't see that. I got to check it out. Does anybody know off the top of the head, what is it, a 2021? All right. And here's was a 570, right? Let's see. I have some photos of it. Oh, all right. So it's like a metal undercarriage, but it's pretty damn smooth. It's a skid plate. They call it a skid plate. That's a upgraded one. Let's see if we have a factory. Hang on. I want to look at this. OEM. All right, here we go. It's not really a great representation, but it gives us actually a good idea. So this one's a model car, and I want to just like, I don't want to grab a model car. Let's see. Oh, actually, here we go. Skid plate. No, that's an upgraded one. I want like the original skid plate. What does it look like? I can't really find anything, but I got this. So this is a model of Karen's particular vehicle size. And as you can see, you know, it has like this smooth skid plate on it. Everything's pretty tucked up underneath there. I mean, it's pretty smooth and clean. So I don't really see anything that would stick out or any kind of like jagged parts or anything like that. You know, as you can see, but it's, you know, it's a good theory as well. All right, let's keep playing.
Coroner's Office Forensic Pathology Program was specifically trained on how to recognize not only, you know, if someone was struck by a vehicle, but to even recognize further about what types of vehicles would inflict, you know, what types of wounds and the locations that we should look for on the body for wounds for someone that's struck by a motor vehicle.
Have you ever taught, in all your career that you were discussing earlier today, how to assess whether an injury to a human has been caused by a motor vehicle?
Yes.
Describe how you taught that in your career.
Well, again, it's oftentimes a pattern. So, for instance, a wound on a certain part of the leg, certain number of inches up from the foot of the leg, could be the result of a bumper, for instance. So we were taught to look for certain patterns and locations of injuries. Also, injury from glass, you know, has a certain pattern, automobile glass, and road rash has another pattern. So,
what are the features of glass?
Yeah,
from
splash
your
shield
experience
or
with regard to motor vehicle accidents?
undercarriage. Yeah, it's like a splash shield. Oops, sorry.
Regarding injuries to humans.
well, they often cause what we call dicing injuries, which are another pattern of injuries.
That's very right, Susie.
Have you made that diagnosis that you
And
just
here you go
described?
right here too. This is a good one. I like this too. Making change that I would expect a friction burn hitting a plastic or aluminum protective plate. Or how about this? That undercarriage, let's just say this. The muffler's probably going to be really warm at that time. There's no burns, right? There's no burns on John. Undercarriage cover, yeah. Skid plate. There's other names for it, but you're getting my drift, what I'm talking about here.
It's an emergency
All right,
room
let's speed up. We'll
Yes.
keep playing here.
Have you made that diagnosis as a forensic pathologist?
Be right back.
Yes.
Describe how you've made that diagnosis as a forensic pathologist with a post-mortem individual.
So again, it's pattern recognition.
One moment, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you need the question
No,
repeated?
no,
Please.
it's pattern recognition.
And can you give an approximation of how many years of experience you have had with that pattern recognition that you just described?
At least 30.
And how often in the 30 years, by year estimate, have you made that assessment?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe once every year or two.
So would it be correct 30 to 60 times? Let me
No.
rephrase it. How many times would you, based upon what you just said, estimate that you've made that assessment?
At least 15 times.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with the exhibit?
Sure, just show counsel what you're doing.
Counsel has all the
Just tell
exhibits,
what
if I
you-
could just tell Mr.
Yes, you
Bennett?
can approach, just show it as you walk up.
Okay.
Yes.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Russell, I have just handed you what is marked as Exhibit 2 in evidence. Do you recognize it?
Yes,
How do you recognize it?
Sorry about that. He's
I've
a
seen it many
restroom.
times. It was a part of the records that were provided to me, the photos.
Is that true and accurate?
Yep, exactly.
This, yes,
Okay.
of,
So,
of what I've seen, yes.
Right. So what I'd like to do is, Your Honor, may I publish that exhibit?
Yes, he said, ready to come up, Ms. Gilman? Or they're going to do it? Okay, sure.
No, I don't want to. I want to look at this.
All right, so okay.
I just want to make sure we have, because Mr. Brennan.
Yeah, the numbers seem to be different. So Diane, I'm going
That's
to
it.
need from you the list of. So what is
Yeah, I know mine under my car is like all plastic. It's like a composite plastic. All right, they're in a sidebar. Let's go back. All right, here we go.
Yes,
How do you recognize it?
because I see a very distinct
was
pattern of
Higgins.
wounds.
And have you reviewed this
You
exact
wrong.
photograph before?
Yes,
You have mentioned the various types before characteristics you called highly characteristics of a dog wound and dog inflicted wound. What I would like you to do, please, do you have a pointer?
I do.
Can you please test to make sure it works?
Okay, it works.
What I'd like you to do in your own words and with the court's permission, I would like you to use the pointer and go through with whatever method you believe is appropriate.
Again, I just want to warn everybody, this is graphic content. I understand, like, if you need to take it off, I get it can be triggering. Do what you need to do, but you know, we're all adults here. Let's
To
watch this. This
describe
is important.
each of those wounds and how you assess them.
Okay, so we will go from the shoulder area down to make it easy. So, first of all, the overall
Oh, thank
impression is
you.
there's numerous abrasions.
Susie, thanks for becoming a new
and
member.
that
to
they have a
support it.
pattern
Thank
to
you.
them.
Appreciate that.
One can see that many of them are parallel in nature.
Can you use the pointer? I'm not.
Yes,
maybe,
so-
yeah, I wasn't seeing it. Thank you.
Okay, so for instance, the set of wounds closest to the shoulder up here, and these, by the way, are all on the posterior surface of the arm, posterior, and maybe this part is a little bit towards the medial, the lateral portion of the arm, but they all have so they're parallel.
My dad just texted me and said, good point about the burn marks. And it is. I mean, my dad knows vehicles. I mean, he's been around vehicles probably for, dad, how long? 50 plus years. He's driven trucks all through Boston and all around the state. You know, he knows parts underneath cars get really hot. And yeah, I mean, if John was truly hit and run over, okay, that muffler is pretty damn hot. You would think, you know, on that arm, if this is the damage that supposedly the car did, well, that was the exploding taillight. But let's just say in the fact of, you know, if they're saying that he ran him over, there'd be hot parts under there. You have a burn, some type of burn on his skin.
They're linear, meaning they look like a line, or they're not round, or these are at least are not round. And so these, do you want me my interpretation, or do you want me to just describe?
Just stick with those.
Uh-huh.
And then what I'd like you to do is you've described them. You've said linear, etc. Have you completed your description of them before you get to how you reached a conclusion as to the source of that area you just did a circle around?
Let me just pause this really quick. It's a super chat. I did see your email. I'm sorry. I get super busy. I'm not trying to be like offensive and not return it. Return your email. I will get back to you. I promise. And blessed to be stressed. $20. Thank you. Okay. So if you have a great day, Hey, Brian, check your email. I wrote about the Karen Reed case and how they pushed for change for a school assignment. Your support on YouTube is why I can't include them in the discussion post for school. Wait, it says your support on YouTube is why I can include them in the discussion post for school. Thanks for all that you do. Well, let's just do this. If you don't mind, I will pull that up. Let's see. I'm not going to pull it on screen, but I'll read what you wrote. Is it okay if I read what you wrote to me? Give me an okay if I can, and I will read it. It was a very nice email. I just haven't had time to sit down and respond to it, but I can respond to it here if you'd like. To be blessed, just let me know. And thank you for the 20. I appreciate the support.
Completed your description of them?
Yes, I've completed my
You can get
description.
the okay, and we can do it. She
How I
said
came
yes.
to the conclusion
All
involved.
right, we're getting into the good stuff here, but I'm going to pull this email up. I got a email from Blessed. This was really nice, and I apologize I haven't gotten back to you. It says, Brian, I emailed you in the past, just something to do with previous standouts, nothing. Let's see. Today, I'm emailing you again to share my discussion post that I had written for my sociology class. And I'm currently attending a school up in New Hampshire as full-time online student. I'm studying to obtain my bachelor's degree, majoring in criminal justice with a concentration in human services and advocacy, and a minor in physiology. Wow, you got a full plate. She tells me where she lives in Massachusetts or where she's from. I follow your channel along with others, but yours captures me the most due to your constant support for all the current local cases and issues going on. However, getting that billboard was the next level support. You were helping, and you have helped that family tremendously. And I am sure your support is super helpful in helping them also navigate their way through such a difficult time and situation. And I just want to kind of add to this. And I appreciate this. I really do. And I said this last night on my live with Mazza, and I want to say this here on this stream as well. You know, as far as LTL Media, this really has been a community involvement channel, because the things that I've been allowed to do here, yes, let's just face it, we make money here on YouTube, okay? But allowing those funds to come in have allowed me to do things and greater things to give back to the community. And I really wanted to help the Delgado Garcia family. You know, I said this before, we made a sign, we made a banner. It just wasn't big enough for me. We weren't getting the impact. We weren't getting the attention. So I put it this way. Yes, I designed the board. I had the idea. I made it happen. But you all were part of that as well. And I'm very grateful for all of that, because if I didn't have this income through my channel, you know, it wouldn't give me the power to give back to the community. And, you know, I appreciate all of your support, because that really made it happen. And it's going to allow me to fund that next month as well, too. We're going to run it all the way through the end of January. So, you know, we'll take it to that level. And then I have to try to figure out some kind of crowdsourcing if we want to continue to do the billboard, because I could only really run it for 2 campaigns. But thank you. You know, you all make the difference in that. You made that happen. You all made that happen. Like I said, I came up with the idea. I put it out there, but because of, you know, being able to use the money here and give it back to the community is what I wanted to do. So it says, she goes on, says, for this week's discussion post in my sociology class, we had a discussion, current social events and create social change. And I chose to discuss the Karen Reed movement and also talk about some of the Sandra Birchmore and Enrique Delgado Garcia case, on how the goal for all these cases just isn't about getting justice, but to affect it in proving it as well, shining a light on the real problem of what is truly going on within our justice system. I'm sharing this to show you how much the impact, a constant support from yourself, along with many others, has had to be able to use all of these cases and discussion posts for school, because they mostly definitely have an impact on society, in pushing for change is due to all the support from yourself and everyone else. These names are individuals are and will make a change and also change history as well. I truly believe these cases will end up in a law books. Yeah, you can bet on that. I'm pretty sure they are. I feel confident about that because they're going to make necessary changes within our criminal justice system. Thank you again for all that you do. I hope you have the time to read my discussion response and to provide discussion questions, which I'm including in this email as well. I hope you get this gives you some inspiration to keep doing what you do because I know it isn't always easy. Good luck in your journey, and I hope you continue to do what you do even after justice serves in these cases. And that was a very nice email, and I promise I will respond to you. And it's moments like that that make this all worth it. Because if I just some regular guy on the street that likes to talk about stuff like this, the microphone and camera, if I can connect with one person, that's all I care about. If I can connect with one person and they say, hey, you know what? Maybe this guy has a point, or maybe I don't agree and we can have a discussion. I'm all for it. And that is the greater thing in these platforms, giving back to the people that watch. And that's a really dope email. And I appreciate that you took the time to do that. And I definitely will respond. Thank you. All right, let's get into the bite wounds. Dr. Russell.
All of them.
Okay, so now let's then move, before you get to a conclusion, let's move to.
Thank you,
whatever area
Elizabeth.
you like,
Thank you.
The next wounds and how you assess those.
Okay. So,
Rogue in the
and by
house.
the way, on
Long
this first
time,
set,
no
there's a
C.
very, very faint linear abrasion between these two prominent linear abrasions. Okay. Proceeding down the arm towards the elbow, we have another set of wounds, which consist of parallel abrasions. This time it looks like there's two in the more anterior portion of that lateral aspect of the arm, and then another linear abrasion down below here, as well as a
Oh no, feel better.
superficial punctate or round tiny lesion
What do you
below
mean
it.
by punctate?
Punctate, I mean small and round. And there may be another punctate lesion right there. So that's this group. Proceeding
Appreciate
down
that.
the arm, there is this irregular group here of multiple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 linear abrasions at least. And then 2, possibly 3 punctate wounds below them. And this is right over the elbow area. And there might, yes.
You mentioned irregular with regard to some of those wounds. Why do you describe them as irregular? And is there any significance to them being irregular? Don't go to your conclusion yet. Just you use the term irregular, and I want to make sure the record's clear what you mean by that.
Okay. Well,
You didn't have
so
to tip me again.
a
Thank you
few
so
of these
much. Let me just pause this really quick. Too blessed to be stressed. $5 says you reading my email live just made my day. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for your support. I truly appreciate that. I get a little shy when people write stuff like that. But listen, I appreciate it. I'm glad that I gave you inspiration, and I promise I will write you back and answer your email. So thank you. Okay, let's keep going. Dr. Russell, a little bit longer
individual
here, and then
wounds
we're going to
have
wrap this one
some
up.
linear or
Thank you.
line-like component. But then as you proceed further down the arm and just below the elbow,
Excuse me.
there's a couple of wounds here that do not look like a line. So that's what I meant by irregular. So that's this pattern here in total around the elbow. Then further down the arm, there's 2 punctate wounds again, right here.
Go slow and say this is punctate wound number 1. This is punctate wound number 2 with circling the list.
Okay, here's one, punctate wound number 1, and here is number 2.
Why is each of those a punctate wound? Because they look to have a slightly different shape.
Oh, very good question. Because there was movement. There was movement of the either the dog or the the inflicting teeth. Either the dog or the victim. There was movement. Okay. Then there is this group, which are again irregular. because they're, I'm
Welcome
calling them
back.
irregular because they're not shaped like a line. And it appears that there's also some what we call movement artifact on those.
When you mention irregular, does that mean it's uncharacteristic or characteristic of a dog?
It means neither of those.
Good, thank you.
Okay. And then finally, the furthest down the arm is this grouping of linear, I'm going to call them linear because they're line-like, but they, so linear abrasions, which appear to have a somewhat semicircular appearance or configuration. And the direction is slightly different. The angle of these linear lacerations are just ever so slightly different than the ones above the elbow.
Is there a medical term that is used to describe the location of those wounds that you just spoke about?
So they're on the posterior forearm.
And is there a medical term for the forearm location down here? Or is it just, you just refer to it as location? No special location.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so please continue.
So those are the wounds of the arm, which is above the elbow, and the forearm,
Oops.
which is below the elbow.
Can you now proceed with regard to each of those wounds or categories of wounds to describe what aspect of dog dentition caused those wounds?
I believe that the ones closest to the shoulder, the two large linear wounds were caused by the canine teeth, the upper canine teeth of the dog.
What are upper canine teeth of the dog?
Well, the canine teeth are the ones that seem to be most prominent when you look at a dog's mouth. They're the triangular, the sort of triangular shape. Humans also have canine teeth,
Okay,
but they are the teeth that, for the most part, grab onto an object.
please proceed to the rest in
Okay.
terms of describing.
I mean, in Kate says Dr. Russell is so inspiring. I mean, look at her pedigree, her career pedigree. It's impeccable. It's like over 50 years in the medical industry. It's insane. So how can we discredit her?
Describing the dog dentition with regard to each wound.
I'm not sure exactly what teeth made these. They could, one of them could, one set of these could be canine, one part of this, and then an
I agree.
adjacent incisor tooth, but I'm not sure on the second set. So this is the set that's just above the elbow. However, what is interesting and certain is that there's an upper set and a lower set. So this mark was an upper tooth. This is a lower tooth.
So even though you may not be able to identify the specific aspect of the dog dentition, you're able to identify that it is from some aspect of the dog dentition. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Please proceed.
This one this is the most complicated one because I believe that this set here I believe that those linear wounds and the irregular wounds are from upper teeth, and the punctate wounds are punctures or incomplete punctures from lower teeth. And the reason this whole configuration looks irregular is because the elbow may have been in a different position than it is in this photograph.
What do you mean by a different position? Describe it using your own forearm.
I agree. That's a good observation.
Well, the elbow was,
Sorry, Your Honor, this is
Yeah, you got to think. I mean, I think they just during the trial, I don't think there was much preparation. She was just kind of she voir dired, and then they just stuck her right into the trial. So there's a lot of action going on, that day too, and nerves can get the best of you. But that's a really interesting observation. Yeah, I guess, she's probably a little bit more calm. She was prepared to come in to testify. It was just like the ARCA guys. They just blew them in there and that was it, and they weren't really well prepared either. This time around, I'm going to guarantee you, everybody's going to be prepared on another level, a higher level of preparation, more than you've even seen before. So if we get into Karen Read 2.0, I'll be really Excited to see what the defense is going to pull out this time and what experts are going to do and bring to the table this time around. One thing that I've always talked about that I was a little disappointed that we didn't see in the first trial is with the Archer guys is I would have liked to see them do a presentation because that's what they're known for. They only talked about an experiments that they performed, but there was no visual graphic to it. And what I would like to see is them show, the Trooper Paul version of how preposterous that whole thing is versus what they used with their data to show like this is not absolutely capable. It did not happen. Karen Reed's vehicle did not make contact with John O'Keefe, and John O'Keefe did not make contact with Karen Reed's vehicle. So I'm hoping we get to see something of that nature this time around, because I think, and we've talked about this before, as human beings, obviously we've become much, much more visual in what we do in our everyday lives. Just look at things like Facebook, it might be a reel that gets your attention or a headline that gets your attention or, a diagram or whatever it may be. We are super, super visual creatures. We need to see that. We need to take the data, put it to something that's visual and translate it so we can see it because we weren't there. We weren't there. But if we can recreate that, put that out to the jury, allow them to look at it, make their determination off it. And I guarantee you, they're all going to look at it and say, there's no possible way. The data just doesn't add up, or the data adds up in this favor or this, this area of expertise. So I'll be curious. All right, let's get back to Dr. Russell.
For the court, can you see it here or would you prefer she stands up?
It's better if you stand.
Oh,
okay. Well, you know what? I'll come to you. You stay. Go ahead. Okay. So
Yeah, I would like you to describe what you just meant of the location you believe the decedent's arm was in when those wounds were suffered. Please stand up. Thank you.
So in this picture, the elbow is, for the most part, somewhat extended. It's not bent as much as it could be, and it is not bent as it was likely as he was protecting himself from the wounds.
So you're saying, just so we understand,
Strike it.
I'm going to strike that. Just describe the
course.
placement of the arm.
Okay. Well, so
Of course
the elbow
you must
bends,
strike it.
as we all know. And so the skin of the elbow is in a different location depending on whether the elbow is bent or not.
Now, Bev doesn't want to show that whole protection. And I talked about this before. So like, let's say the dog jumped. Let's say Chloe jumped at John. So Chloe jumps at John, and dogs are trained, they're going to grab, this is a natural reaction for a human being to do this. Something's coming at you. You want to protect your face, protect your vital organs, just depending on where the dog is jumping. We naturally want to go in because probably, we don't want our hand grabbed or our fingers nipped off. So what do? We protect ourselves in this manner. I'm sure Mazza can talk a lot to this. He takes martial arts, and that's probably a technique they teach in martial arts. Protect your vital organs, your neck, your face, your head. You tuck in to a situation. Someone's throwing a punch at you. You might block your face. So it's kind of a natural reaction. Something's coming at you. Bev wants to take that out. Doesn't want that in the testimony.
So anything that's inflicted will depend on the position that the elbow was in when it was inflicted. I hope that clarifies.
Okay.
Yeah, please proceed.
Okay. So this is one set, the ones around the elbow. Then there is, going a little further down the arm, there is another set of wounds. The two punctate and irregular wounds, halfway down the forearm.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You may sit down if it's more.
Hold on, wait till you change.
Oh gosh, that would have been a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Thank you.
That literally would have been a disaster. I'll say good on Bev. Look at everybody's kind of having a chuckle right now. Good on Bev. Yeah, that would have been horrifying if Dr. Russell sat back and fell on the floor. Oh my God. So good. I'll say good on Bev on that one. She said, please don't sit down right now. Let's get her chair back there. And you can hear the courtroom have a little bit of a chuckle. So thank you.
And then
I'm
finally,
thinking happen.
there's this
Tension.
area down here, which is the closest to the wrist. And there are at least 3 or 4 parallel abrasions there. And it looks like a punctate wound down here. These, I believe, were inflicted by the front of the arch of the dog.
Have you completed your articulation of the assessment of each of the wounds on the arm?
I think so.
In some of your answers, you said irregular, could be. If you use those terms, are you still nonetheless able to conclude whether there is a pattern wound here?
Yes. So the individual marks are characteristic of, possibly more than one cause. However, the combination of the overall series of patterns is highly characteristic of a dog inflicted.
So are you saying that one specific wound could be indicative of a dog-inflicted wound, but the whole pattern itself is how you reach the conclusion?
Gotcha.
Sustained.
Describe how you conclude. Well, let me go walk backwards. What,
And real quick, I'm going to add this in. I know I've been kind of stopping a lot. I find it interesting. What has Hank Brennan attacked so far in the defense? What does he want to erase? What people does Hank Brennan want to keep? What experts, what experts does Hank Brennan want to keep out of this trial so far? Okay. And I think they're the 2 most crucial experts in this trial. And I'm going to see if you all in the chat can put the 2 experts in there, because I know you're all smart, but I think these are the most credible and most extreme experts in this case. Yeah, but let's be more specific. What 2, name 2, has Brennan tried to keep out, which I think are the most impactful for the defense? I'm going to wait a second. Name them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Boom. Y'all got it. Lacey's on it. Russell and Arca. Those are the most damning experts for the Commonwealth's theory. It's going to smash their theory. Arca especially. And this is what Brennan is afraid of. So he's going to push hardo on this to get it out. And there is going to be outrage, complete outrage, if Dr. Russell is not allowed to testify in Karen Read 2.0. Because how do you qualify her as an expert in the first trial, but now you're going to sit here after we just sat through what? I think this testimony was almost 6 hours the other day, well, maybe 4 hours on average. And she even sounds more qualified this time around. And if you put a motion out to say that this is not an expert witness, you are infringing on Karen Read's rights to defend herself. Full stop. Full stop. All right, let's get back and finish up Dr. Russell.
do you conclude from the pattern of all of these wounds collectively?
100%.
These were inflicted by a dog, and this was a dog attack.
And why do you say it was a dog attack?
Because there are multiple bites here.
There you go.
Do you observe any claw marks with regard to the injuries?
It's possible that this set immediately above the elbow could be claw.
And you know, I'm going to add this to this. The reason, you know, in my opinion, they're trying to get this information out from Arca and Dr. Russell. They're scientific based witnesses. You can't deny the science. That's why. You know, yeah, we have Lucky. I know everybody said Lucky in the chat, but you could look at it and say, you know, there could be ways around that. I fully believe that he saw what he saw. I fully believe that. But these are scientifically based fact pieces of evidence and experts to testify to this, that one, these are dog bites, and two, it did not happen. It didn't happen. All right, let's go.
Marks. However, I don't think so on further examination because I see some punctate lesions, which suggest that those are also teeth.
It's like Jennifer McCabe, you know, when Alan Jackson has her Celebrite extraction up there. Okay, 620, what is it, 623, 624. You did those searches, but at 227, it's literally black and white data. It's right in front of us. We all can see it for the world to see. And she goes, nope, that didn't happen. It's a scientifically based. It's data. It's there in front of us. You cannot deny it. It's all right there. And these are data and scientifically based experts. And that's why they're trying to omit them from this trial.
Informing the opinions and conclusions you just testified to as to the nature and source of these pattern of wounds. Did you apply any techniques or analysis?
Make sure to smash that like button, please.
Yes.
Describe how.
Again,
I think you just asked. Did you? Let me go back here. Did you say? Did you employ any scientific techniques? Right there. There. It just goes to my point.
because there are multiple bites here.
Do you observe any claw marks with regard to the injuries?
It's possible that this set immediately above the elbow could be claw marks. However, I don't think so on further examination because I see some punctate lesions, which suggest that those are also teeth.
Right.
Informing the opinions and conclusions you just testified to as to the nature and source of these pattern of wounds. Did you apply any techniques or analysis that you would use as an emergency room physician?
Yes.
Describe how.
Again, I looked at the wounds and I looked to determine if there's anything else that could inflict that pattern of wounds that were inflicted around the same time. And there is nothing else that I am aware of that could do that.
How did you, did you determine that those wounds occurred approximately the same time, each of those wounds?
Yes.
How did you determine that?
By the appearance of the wounds, the color, yes.
Anything else about the
color, the fact that there's no healing, yes.
In conducting your differential diagnosis, how did you rule out a motor vehicle accident as a cause of those injuries?
Again, I did not recognize the pattern as being inflicted by any particular part of a motor vehicle. The motor vehicle accident would have caused injuries to other parts of the body, such as the chest and the other parts. There would be bruises. Motor vehicle accidents cause bruises, fractures sometimes.
There you go.
There were no other injuries like that.
Did you reach any opinion or conclusion as to when these injuries were suffered, meaning pre-mortem or post-mortem?
They're pre-mortem wounds.
How did you determine these wounds were pre-mortem wounds, and specify what you mean by pre-mortem?
So pre-mortem
didn't happen after the fact.
Before death.
Yep.
They occurred before death. And the reason I can tell that they're pre-mortem wounds is because they have what we call a vital reaction. Post-mortem wounds, so vital reaction means that there was life in the body at the time that these wounds were inflicted. And a post-mortem wounds look very different because there is no blood flow that occurs post-mortem, so they don't get the vital reaction.
Is it an accepted methodology in the practice of medicine to observe a post-mortem photograph of wounds in reaching a conclusion as to the source and nature of the wounds?
Yes.
And why is that an accepted practice?
Well, first of all, it's realistic. The wounds appear the same in this case and in many cases. And then the other thing is because autopsy is a finite period of time, 1 or 2 hour period of time on a certain day, and other physicians can't always be at the autopsy.
So is it common or uncommon for forensic pathologists to use photography to determine the source and nature of a wound such as this?
Common,
How common?
very common.
This may seem like an obvious question, but did you use photographs in forming your opinion?
Yes,
Did you use any ante-mortem photographs of the decedent's right arm in forming your opinion?
no,
Did you observe any hospital records of photographs of the decedent ante-mortem?
antemortem?
Yes.
I don't believe so. I
So-
believe they were all post-mortem. They're right after the resuscitation attempt.
Is it an accepted practice in the emergency room medical community to also use photographs in assessing the nature and source of wounds?
Well, usually the emergency physician's right there.
But in terms of your, understood, and is that the best way to assess it?
Yes,
But is it an acceptable way to look at a photograph to assess the source and nature of wounds?
yes,
And do you remember the COVID world we all lived under?
yes.
In the COVID world that we all lived under, did physicians sort of accelerate or increase their use of photos in diagnosis, or did they decrease their use of photographs?
I cannot comment.
Let's go to whether, let's go to these wounds. Did you make an assessment as to whether these wounds would have changed at any time from when they were incurred to when that photograph was taken?
Well, I certainly took that into account, and I decided that because, well, basically the answer is no, they wouldn't have changed because the decedent was found in a very cold condition, which was 80.1 degrees when taken, and even at the autopsy, the medical examiner commented in the report that the body was cold to touch, and cold delays postmortem change. So there was really no significant postmortem change of the skin.
Your Honor, may I approach Ms. Gilman for the next photo to make sure we do this efficiently with Mr. Bryant?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Your Honor, may I publish Exhibit 4?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Russell, do you?
You know what? Actually, take it down for just a
Oh,
minute.
that's right. Yes, I'm sorry.
Take it down, Ms. Gilman. Thank you. I'll see counsel.
All right, to save everybody's ears, we're going to get past the static here. Speed up.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. I am handing the witness Exhibits 3 and 4.
Okay.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Russell, please keep those 2 exhibits down on your lap. Don't even put them up on the top.
I think they're in a good spot. Yes, they're in a good spot. They're not on her lap, but they're not visible to everyone.
That's what I wanted to make sure. Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recognize exhibits 3 and 4?
Yes,
Are you able to determine whether exhibits 3 and 4 are antemortem or postmortem?
the postmortem.
Is there any way for you to determine by the nature of the linens in that photo, whether they're antemortem or postmortem?
By the nature of what?
The linens under.
Oh, the linens? Well, not definitively.
So are the wounds depicted in exhibits 3 and 4 the same or substantially the same as the exhibit you were publishing?
The same.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I am now
Speed up a little bit here.
on.
Jim.
Your Honor, this is exhibit 3.
Okay. Okay. I have it as 4, but that's okay.
Okay, then numbered.
Okay, so I need that list. To the list of the exhibits.
Your Honor, we have to notice once I-
Why?
Sure.
What is it with this judge that can't keep exhibits straight? We saw this in the first trial as well too. Remember the whole like, oh, we're gonna have to go back. We might have to I don't want to go back and have to renumber everything. Like, what the? Let's get it straight here, Bev. The sidebar here. All right, here we go. Give everybody's ears. There we go. That's on the record. I'm gonna bring this back down to maybe not. Go here. Come on. Get rid of that box. Seriously. Like, what the hell? I mean, I'm not even a lawyer and I brought that up.
Your Honor.
Emily D. Baker, so good.
Dr. Russell, in
Oh, damn
coming
good.
to your opinion, did you examine an autopsy report?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
And I'm approaching with
Seriously?
exhibit 3.
Okay.
The autopsy report of autopsy. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you recognize exhibit 3?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a report of autopsy on Mr. John O'Keefe, medical examiner number 2022-1697.
Did you consider that medical examiner's analysis in exhibit 3 informing your opinion?
Yes.
And how did you consider exhibit 3 informing your opinion?
Well, there was a description of the abrasions of the arm and arm.
I'm sorry, which forearm and arm?
Right, I'm sorry, right. Right forearm and arm. Yes.
And what about the autopsy report did you consider in that analysis of that part, the autopsy report?
Dr. Scotabelli description of the wounds.
And what was Dr. Scotabelli's description of?
This is important.
And feel free to read from the autopsy report.
Okay. Do you want me to read the descriptions?
Whatever it is you considered with regard to the injuries to the right arm of the deceased.
Well, she described what basically I just described, although she had some measurements.
Your Honor, may we republish the correct photo that we had up on the screen so the doctor can
Yes.
refer to it in.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I publish exhibit 5 photo?
Yes. Ms. Gilman's doing it, I believe.
Ms. Gilman, are you all set with what you, thank you. And thank you for putting that back up on the screen. May I proceed, Your Honor? Dr. Russell, in reading from the autopsy report, can you read it and then determine whether there's any relation to what is being discussed in the autopsy report to what is in that photo?
Well, the doctor just,
I think you asked her what she based her opinion on reference to the medical opinion, what not to compare it by reading. So I have an objection to simply reading through it and trying to interpret what the ME thought.
So rephrase your question.
Sure, thank you. Please read from the autopsy report the relevant portions related to Dr. Scordi-Bello's analysis of the right arm.
Again, I object. It's not the MD's opinion. It's whether she relied on the information and how so.
I'll repeat. Did you rely upon what is in the autopsy report to support your opinion as to the nature and source of the wounds in the right arm?
yes,
What did you rely upon in that report to support your opinion with regard to the nature and source of the wounds?
the description of the wounds at autopsy.
And what was that? What is that description that you relied upon?
It says here, multiple abrasions from 2 to 3 millimeters and up to 7 centimeters.
What page are you on, Doctor?
I'm sorry, page 3.
Okay.
Under the area that says injuries.
Okay.
And then in the subsection it says extremities. It's the second bullet point there.
Okay.
Multiple abrasions from 2 to 3 millimeters and up to 7 centimeters on the posterior right arm and forearm.
Roughly how many autopsy reports have you authored in your career?
Authored?
Yes.
Over 500.
How many autopsy reports that you have not written have you reviewed?
At least 100.
What conclusions do you reach from that description that you just read with regard to whether that is a description or not of a pattern in the report?
I object.
So you ask it a little bit differently.
Dr. Russell, what do you conclude from reading that section of
Hey, Ruby, welcome in.
the autopsy report with regard to the nature of the wounds, the total wounds depicted on what's up on the screen?
Well, it substantiated my observation based on the pictures.
What is the observation first? And then second, how did it substantiate your observation?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
Did you, make sure I understood your answer, did you state that that section of the report substantiated your conclusions as to the nature and source of the injuries?
It substantiated my observations.
And okay, what observations did it substantiate?
Well, there are, as the doctor wrote, multiple abrasions and in certain measure between 2 and 3 millimeters up to 7 centimeters on the posterior right arm and forearm. That's exactly what I see there.
So is it your judgment that Dr. Scordi-Bello made the same observations of these wounds as you did?
Multiple objections.
Yeah, the objection is sustained.
With regard to well, we've covered what we needed to cover with regard to that aspect of the autopsy report. Was there anything else in the autopsy report that spoke to the nature or source of those wounds?
Not that comes to mind.
So did the medical examiner, Dr. Scordi-Bello, in that report reach any conclusions about the nature and source of the wounds that are depicted on Exhibit 5?
Not in this report.
So not in that report. Now we're going to now move on to the next topic. Did you consider DNA evidence in this case?
Yes.
How, if at all, did the DNA, well, what DNA evidence did you consider in this case pertinent to the injuries to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
I considered the reports from the UC, University of California at Davis lab regarding the DNA evidence.
What training and experience do you have with regard to DNA evidence?
Not very much.
With regard to
Right back.
describe what your DNA experience is.
Well, I'm aware that you have to maintain continuity of evidence. So you have to sample the appropriate area. And then you have to maintain continuity of evidence until that evidence gets to the laboratory for analysis.
How do you have experience, training, or knowledge with regard to the topics you just testified to?
Well, several ways. One was that I took a course when I was a police officer in crime scene investigation, and that was stressed, continuity of evidence. Secondly, I was sent to a course as the rape officer, or the rape investigator, I should say, in the Malden Police Department. I sent to a course in Brockton entitled Rape Investigation, and they stressed continuity of evidence that was obtained from victims. And then finally, of course, as a emergency doctor and forensic pathologist, I received additional training.
How, if at all, let me ask you, did you review the UC Davis Veterinary Genetics DNA report in coming to your opinions and conclusions with regard to the wounds on the decedent's right arm?
I did.
And what
Oh, thank you
conclusions did you
for
reach?
being here.
The same conclusion,
And what is that?
that those injuries were inflicted by a dog.
That's it.
Are you aware of the results of the DNA testing of the UC Davis facility?
Yes,
What are you aware of?
I'm aware that DNA was not found.
And
Excuse me, let me clarify that. I'm aware that dog DNA was not found.
does that conclusion in your opinion determine whether or not those wounds were caused by a dog?
No,
Why?
because I don't know anything about how the specimen was sampled. First of all, none of the samplings came from the arm of Mr. O'Keefe itself.
What do you mean by sampling?
The samples, the swabs that were performed and sent to the laboratory, none of them came from the arm of the decedent. Secondly, I don't know anything about how the samples were actually obtained from the evidence and what the state of the evidence was, if they actually sampled the correct area. I don't know if there was any continuity of evidence. And then finally, any test can have a false negative result. So the absence of canine DNA does not mean that the canine DNA did not exist. It just means that they didn't capture it.
To your recollection, did the autopsy report of the medical examiner, Dr. Squirty-Bello, reach any conclusions with regard to dog DNA evidence?
The autopsy report, no.
Is there any mention whatsoever in the autopsy report about dog DNA testing for analysis?
No.
Do you have any information that the medical examiner assessed dog DNA at all in the autopsy report?
I didn't see anything like that.
I love the enthusiasm, Stacy. Holly's in there too. Couple more minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all so much for being here today. I appreciate all the support. It was a good one to go through. Let me go
For today.
a little bit.
Before today,
Have you assessed Exhibit 8 at all?
I've seen that picture.
Do you have an assessment as to what?
Oh, don't worry, Lacey. I got something before the stream ends today, because as we're all being productive, Sean needs to start running his mouth again. So we'll show that in a second. It definitely was spicy. All right, let's finish it
You
up
have
and
an
then we'll get to the
observation,
Sean
Barbara.
crap again.
Yes,
What is your observation?
they appear to be blue jeans. They appear to have certain stains labeled with a small ruler, and I don't know the nature of the stains.
Is there anything with regard to Exhibit 8 that you believe is pertinent to assessing whether or not any injury from Mr. O'Keefe was sourced from a dog attack?
I can't tell.
D.
Can we go to Exhibit 9, please?
Well, welcome in. Thank you for being here.
And if we could just, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, if we go back to 8,
Yeah, we're gonna go through it.
is there anything in the autopsy report? Of the medical
Maybe we'll whip up a spaces tonight.
speaks to
How about that, Lacey? You want to do a spaces
Exhibit 8
tonight?
in terms of the assessment
Get
that the
orange
medical
Kool-Aid
examiner
in
made
there?
in the autopsy report?
I don't recall seeing anything in the autopsy report regarding that, but if you can direct me to a certain area. I
Oh,
can
that's,
look at it.
that's fine.
Okay.
So,
What's up?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. We could go to Exhibit 9 with the court's permission?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you recognize Exhibit 9?
Yes.
How do you recognize
Well, I've seen that image many times.
it? And what is that image?
Well, it appears to be a hoodie, sweatshirt, hoodie style sweatshirt. It's got multiple dark stains on the sweatshirt. There appears to be a
Works
large
for me.
tear through the middle of it, which I believe was probably caused in the emergency room.
After this, I'm gonna go grab a meal of food, head probably back home. But yeah, I'll send you the link. See if Orange Kool-Aid can get in there. We'll get into the Sean stuff because Sean's on full-on attack. He's gonna try to discredit me now in the Enrique Delgado Garcia because we've been talking about it here on this channel, and he doesn't like it because he supposedly broke the story. I can neither confirm or deny. But even if he did fucking break it, it's not what you did, you narcissistic dick. It's what you do and what you continue to do. So you want all the credit. I broke it. I did this. I did that. Then you walk away and you say things like, I'm not going to talk about Karen Reed or Turtle Boy anymore. That's all you have done for the last month. Probably more than a month now. So now he wants to discredit everything. He's all upset. His panties are in a wad. And he's taking to Twitter right now, and he's trying to discredit everything. And he's going to look like a jerk off. And the most evil thing in all of this is he's now weaponizing the Delgado Garcia family. He's bringing their name into this. It has nothing to do with them. And, like I was saying earlier at the beginning of the stream, all he has done is gone on particularly one thread, and he's in there, and the family reads these tweets. I'm putting them out to be informative for the family and for people that are interested in the Delgado Garcia case. And this dick is in there clouding it up with all his negativity, and he just did it again. He just weaponized the family. The guy is a true fucking narcissist and a moron. And it's like, why don't you just leave their name out of the beef that you have with me? What? Because a guy that sold some sweaters continued to talk about the case, and I got a little of attention about it, and I did something honorable for the family and put up a billboard for them. He's angry. He's fucking angry about it. Well, Sean, if you knew this information about supposedly what you say, the information about, what happened, the person that killed Delgado Garcia, then why are you not coming forward? Why are you not? Hello. Hi, I'm Sean McDonough, retired fucking DEA agent. And here's all the information that I have. And this is the person that killed Enrique Delgado Garcia. Why have you not done that? Why have you done that? If you have the sources and you have the information, walk into your local police department, call the feds, whoever you have all your contacts with, and make it happen. Let's see it. Let's see some breaking news. You know why? Because you have nothing. You got zero, buddy. You got zero. And you're mad because a guy that wears a backwards hat and wears a flannel shirt is continuing to talk about this and bring awareness of it. That's what you're angry about. God, the guy's such a fucking moron. Let's get through this. Finish this up.
Why do you believe it was probably caused in the emergency room?
Because I've made those kinds of cuts in clothing before, having to get access to a patient.
Right. So what is the
that's
purpose of
commonplace.
making a cut like that on a piece of clothing, given your understanding of the nature of the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe?
He was in a very emergent situation, and they needed to get access to his body right away. So that's why they didn't have time to undress him. They just did the fastest thing, which is cut the clothing.
Do you have any other observations with regard to Exhibit 9 pertinent to your analysis?
Yes, there are multiple areas, particularly in the right sleeve.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Your Honor, may she use the laser pointer?
Yes.
Thank you.
There are
See,
multiple.
Sean, all these people know you're a fraud. Okay. All these people know you're a fraud. You want to talk the big game, but you don't want to continue everything. So you've done nothing. You literally have done nothing positive or constructive on your channel. All you've done is continue to disparage and discredit all of the people that allowed you on their platform to build your platform. Okay. We've allowed you on our shows, and people that have been contributing positively to the Free Karen Read movement. So that's all you've done. And now you're attacking Karen, you're attacking Turtle Boy, you attacked Karen, the Reeds, you attacked everybody. You lost like three quarters of your, probably half of your subscribers, 3/4 of your subscribers, because you're a dickhead. And all you do is you go in and you hide behind your paywall and put out propaganda about everybody. That's just complete bullshit. You have no balls to come out and do an actual live to the live audience. You shut down your chat. You talk about, oh, I'm not going to censor free speech. You shut your chats down so no one can comment. I can't anymore. It's so disgusting what you're doing. You're weaponizing the Delgado Garcia family now. Good stuff, Sean. Real class act, buddy. Keep throwing the name out there, buddy.
Multiple areas, particularly in the right sleeve,
I don't think your laser has yet hit. There we go.
that are labeled with triangular
I'll
white
get up in a
signs,
second.
which are pointing to individual holes in the sleeve. And there were 11 of them that I saw.
Lacey, why don't you do this? Let's host. I don't mind. Why don't you host it on your channel, because you have a little bit bigger audience and spaces. I don't mind. Let's do it on your channel. If you want to add me as a co-host, maybe we can get Orange Kool-Aid over there. Maybe Aiden will jump in and chime in as well too. We can send the link to him and we'll talk about it. All right, let's. I'm trying to get through the rest of this. 5 more minutes. I'm gonna wrap this up and go get a meal of food, and we're gonna do a Spaces tonight at 9 p.m. I believe on Lacey's channel. We'll get that set up and we'll get into this tonight. All right, here we go.
On the sleeve, and there are 2 others on the chest area.
Have you, in your experience, assessed changes?
That's right.
In determining.
That's right. I remember that too, and thank you for bringing that up. When the Trooper Proctor was fired, that whole incident, and that's what made Sean go off. And then he tried to discredit Todd McGee as well. He's used that against me. Basically Todd can go, in Sean's mind, because Todd is the truth, and I trust Todd, and he's a great source and a great friend of me. And then he went after Christina Rex. Remember his comment? Called her the B word. And actually in tweets today, he was saying pretty colorful things about women too, calling them sweetheart. That's talking down to women. Hey, sweetheart. Saying stuff like that. So, Sean's just a chauvinist, narcissistic dickhead, and wants to just say, hey, I'm not winning in all this, so let's try to burn it all down. And I feel bad. I really feel bad for the people that continue to support him, that they just can't see through all of his bullshit. I don't know. It's kind of like looking at the Karen Read trial and looking at the jury and saying you couldn't see past all that bullshit. But I don't know. I just don't know at this point. Lacey, if you want to drop your Twitter in the chat, set up the spaces, and at 9 p.m. we'll do it. I'm all for it. And drop that link in the chat so
the
people
nature
can join.
and source of those types of changes.
Oh yeah, and he
clothing.
kicked everybody out of his Facebook
Yes.
group, too.
So
Describe how.
clothing is important sometimes to determine more information about how a wound was inflicted. So, for instance,
I
it's
love
used in determining gunshot
Link in
wound,
the channel.
entry, exit, direction, etc. I've used it in stab wound cases where, again, determining where the stab wounds were and if they were offensive or defensive type wounds. So, yes, and in this case, they have significance.
And what is the significance in this?
Well, these wounds are primarily on the right arm, which corresponds to the injuries that were on the decedent, the right arm. And furthermore, most of those wounds, when you enlarge that photograph, are small puncture wounds, very small. And what's interesting about them, to me, is that in many of those wounds, the clothing fibers are actually headed out of the wound.
And what significance, if any, is it to you that the direction of the fibers are coming, as you described it, outside?
Well, it's very significant because, in training, we learned that we had to look at direction, for instance, of tissue and fibers to determine if a gunshot wound was an entry or an exit. Now, gunshot wounds, they only do one of those two things through the same hole. They either enter or exit. But in this case, we have fibers exiting the wound, which means that the offending object exited the wound. So the teeth exited the wound.
Sustained.
You mentioned the word offending object. How did you, without stating what it is, did you eventually determine what was the, as you call it, offending object? You mean offending object, what caused this change to the clothing? Is that what you mean when you say offending object?
Yes.
Okay. How did you assess what was the offending object that caused the change to the clothing as depicted in that right arm of the hoodie? I think that's the form of the question.
Sustained. Just ask it differently,
Okay.
please.
Did you have a methodology to determine the cause of those changes to the hoodie sweatshirt?
Yes.
What was that methodology that you did?
So I looked at the location of those holes. I looked at the location of the wounds on the decedent. And although they're not exactly in the same location because clothing moves, they are generally in the same location of the wounds on Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay, with that, we're going to recess. I know that this is taking longer than you anticipated. Do you have any idea how much longer? And I'm not rushing you, Mr. Leslie, just do you know how much longer you might be?
Your Honor, my best estimate is 30 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Brennan, do you have any idea how long you might be?
At least a few hours.
Jim?
All right, I think that's going to conclude there for testimony. We'll come back on probably Wednesday. We'll do part 3. We'll show Hank Brennan's beginning of the testimony. And then on January 7th, they're going to come back. It's a Tuesday and conclude Hank Brennan's cross of Dr. Maria Russell. And I'm going to actually go there for the hearing that day. So I'm going to take the day out of work and go down there. Hank's, let's see. And that's the spaces tonight. We're going to do at 9:00. Lacey just dropped the link in there. Set your reminders if you're on X. We're going to bring some people in there. Maybe we can get Aiden to come in and talk a little bit with us about what's been going on. I'd love to hear his side. And I know he's been in a lot of these tweets as well. And so Hank's Fishing Expedition, $5 is a car coming at you. You put your hand straight out in front of the dog, a dog attacking you, or raise your arm up to peck your face. Exactly. And I talked about that earlier. It's kind of the natural reaction to protect our face and vital organs. Let's see. Let me just, this guy, I can't believe this. Now he's going to weaponize the Delgado Garcia family. Good stuff, Sean. This is the source of information I posted regarding the death of Enrique Delgado Garcia. And, he goes in, no more, no less. This was 6 hours before the real news story broke. And I tweeted at him. And I said, that's the problem. And something that you'll never understand, you narcissistic dick. It's not about what you've done. It's what you keep doing. And you've done nothing. It's not about you, you fucking moron. Leave the Delgado Garcia family out of this. They don't deserve your attacks and negativity. And we will talk more about this tonight on Lacey's Spaces. And that is the link. You can click on that, set your reminders. I think it's going to be a good one. And we'll get on there and talk a little bit more about this. Mr. Monk, thank you so much for the $5. $5. And I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to head out. I'm going to go get a meal of food and then get ready for that Spaces tonight. Lacey, just text me. We'll line everything up. We'll do it over on your channel. And if you want to add me as a co-host, we can do that. And maybe we can drop the link and get Aiden in there to talk a little bit. Definitely Orange Kool-Aid. I'm sure he's going to want to get in on this. And we'll go from there. I've been enjoying the Spaces lately. It's been a good time over there. And those are pretty cool to be part of. So that is going to be it, everybody. I want to thank everybody for the support this afternoon. I appreciate it. And, we'll come back probably on Wednesday, do part 3. We'll go through Hank Brennan's testimony, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you again for all the support. This was a very productive afternoon, except for the Sean on the cuck stuff, and he is a cuck. And we'll catch up soon. So everybody have a great day. We'll see you hopefully in a couple hours on Spaces. Join the conversation. Listen in. I think it's going to be a good time. It'll be at 9 p.m. on Lacey's channel. And if you want to drop the link one more time as the outro goes, Lacey, everybody can click on there and set their reminders. So it'll be over on X. It won't be here on Twitter. And if you've never done a Spaces, you just click into it and says listen, and then you can listen to the conversation. It's actually really good. It's fun. It's fun to do it. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out. Thank you for being part. Thank you for supporting LTL Media. We will continue to support the Delgado Garcia family in a very positive way and bring some attention to that case and get justice in their case. And of course, the Karen Read case as well. So it's been a pleasure this afternoon spending this time with you. If you haven't, first time over here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll be back on Wednesday. Bye, everybody. Take care. And moderators, thank you so much for modding today. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.